I've always felt different. I've always seen things, but when I tried to express them as a child, I was always told to ignore it.
There were people that I didn't know that came to me and said, I had this message that I keep getting that I have to deliver to you.
All of a sudden, out of the shadows, a homeless man just jumped right in front of me. And he said, I'm a soul just like you.
I love it.
I wanted to understand the universe and who and what we are and what are we doing here.
Well, we're all part of this amazing soul wave tapping into each other.
This was a major life changer.
You are a light. You have helped me a ton. Thank you.
You've given me the courage to live more from my soul.
Millions of people are awakening. So wake up with Michele Meiche. Be pleased to hear the best-selling authors and experts in the fields of cutting-edge self-help, personal growth, metaphysics, and spirituality. The soul path of awakening. Understand what living awake is.
Hello, Soulites. Welcome. It's really great to connect with all of you here. Oh, so cool, so cool. Loving connecting with everyone. How is everyone? Getting in the chat. All right, if you're hey, Tasha Blue in the house. Hello in the chat house, in the sacred space of empowerment room. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see everyone. Okay, we have Juan on today. I'm really looking forward to connecting with her. Sacred geometrist, I guess that's how you would say it. And amazing being. Also creator, well, I'll get into it when she comes on. But anyway, sacred geometry is so important to what we're going through right now that I really wanted to have her on sooner than later. So I'm really glad that we could have her on. Okay, my chat is kind of wonky right now. I'm not able to comment in the chat. I'll just wait. Anyway, hello, those that are getting in the chat room. Chat, let me know how my sound is. You know how it is on BTR. So far, fingers crossed, things are working. Also, please subscribe. You can subscribe here, but more importantly to YouTube, because we are going to be doing live. There's a lot of stuff planned. I'm going to be out of the country for a little bit. I may still do awakenings there, but we have a lot of stuff lined up. Also on Patreon, that's another way, because, gosh, have you feeling the energy? The energetic shift and how things are literally speeding up. You're having to do more, get more done, but it is happening in a flow. If you can connect into the flow out of the ego human part of you, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. If you want to call in and you want a reading, just to say hi, whatever, share something about yourself or what you're going through, that number is 347-539-5122, 347-539-5122. You can also join on Instagram. It's part Patreon peeps, but it's also Soul Path and Soul Awakening with Michele Meiche. People are in there, but also a lot of awakenings people. So if you follow me on Instagram, then I can add you, or I can at some point post the link. I just posted a link in the Patreon community page, and a bunch of people signed up, which is great. And reason being, guys, it's really time to collab together, to really share about yourself, share your gifts, be open to collaborations. I know that quite a few people that work with me in workshops and seminars, and they're part of the Patreon Soul Path community. They've had some business relationships with each other, and they've collaborated. They've connected as kindred spirits, talked outside of groups. And you're more likely, trusted. I'd say most of the people I attract, or 99.9%, are really cool people, very gifted, very high level integrity. I can't vouch, obviously, for everything and everyone or guests. I can really only vouch for myself. However, a lot of these people I have worked with for many years. Over the years, they do personal work with me. They have done, retreats with me. Over the years, they've referred me people. They've we've become like a family. So I can say that start now, because there's some changes that are coming next year with how we work and what we do. There's some changes that are coming on the soul path, in the mainstream world next year, that if it's just going to be better to not travel on your own. Let's just put it that way. Oh, Tasha, was it who put this in the chat? Happy that your pick of cards have been helpful when you were off air. Oh, cool. I'm so glad. Yeah. You know, I never took a break. Even I got COVID at one point. I was sick. You know, I think only when I had like a car accident, I had Paulo come in and help me co-host. Maybe I've missed a few over the years. I've been doing this. I'm an early adopter and adapter to technology, always have been. So I've been doing this podcast since podcasts blew up. So it just as when BTR was having these technical issues, it was like I'm hoping they fixed it so we could keep this going, the audio, and then branch out into the video, but we'll see. Fingers crossed, guys. Put the prayer out. I want to talk a bit about soul timing, and not waiting. These are some messages from the guides that have been coming in. It's really bugging me that I cannot, connecting, that I cannot, I'm going to refresh. I cannot do the chat. It's really bugging me. You guys know how I love the chat. Okay, let's see. Aha, here it is. Yes. Tasha Blue, glad your show's back. Thank you. Now let's see if I can respond in the chatty room. I had to refreshy. Thank you, Tasha. Okay, I think I bounced people out because I had to refresh my browser because it wasn't letting me chat. Okay, so I got to tell you guys something. Okay, so I'm doing my walk. Those of you that are connecting with me in our amazing Patreon community, you guys really should think about joining. It's so fun, and I have much more stuff planned now that I kind of got the hang of it, and I've grooved in. And anyway, you can find out that, I don't know if it's in the description box or wherever, or on my website, soulplayground.life or soulplayground.org. Okay, anyway, this tied in so amazing. So you guys know that when I do these, every day I meditate, I pray, I talk to God, I have sometimes conversations with my guides, the oversouls, and sometimes what I call tutorials, where they have stuff to teach me, share with me. And as they said, you're getting the message out. Because, I was wondering, should I still do awakenings? I guess they allowed the break. And then like 2 or 3 times in my meditation, when they came in, I literally sit and I can see them, the ascended master, these beings, these light beings. And they're like, start the podcast again, start it up. And then they're like very firm. And they said, well, how we can't come through. And this is interesting because this came through in some readings that I did for people privately, where their guides came through and their higher self saying, we can't do, in other words, we have to go through you. That's what a channel is. We can go through, electrical devices, we can go, but to get the message out or to share, to grow, to help in this awakening and ascension, they got to go through people. Spirit's got to go through people. So I was like, okay. But it's been quite a long journey to try to find the research. And I'm pretty busy. So the research I had to do, then I had this assistant that's working with Casey. Jen researched some stuff. I was just going that nutty because I'd sign up for a platform, and then it would be like you have to use an app, or no, people can't call in, but they can use a chat, or they can connect through the browser. So anyway, we're going to figure it out to go to the next step, but right now this is working. I just have to have patience and be in the flow of what's unfolding. There's a reason. Okay, so here's my experience, and then we're going to get to callers, 347-539-5122. Press 1 on the keypad. This was so amazing. Did my workout this morning, exercise, my yin yoga, and I'm like, I got to get out because I got back-to-back with sessions for awakenings and a bunch of stuff I got to do. So I got out and I do my walk, and I'm like loving it. I'm going through my neighborhood, seeing the doggies, everything's great. I go to Blue Bottle to get my cortado, which I'm drinking right now. And on what I do a lot, and I invite you guys to do this, when I listen to something like pick a cards or sometimes a podcast or a video, and even my stuff, because I know it's coming beyond me, A lot of times I channel stuff, not always. A lot of the pick-a cards are not for me, it just doesn't relate, but some of them definitely are, and I get guided. So I was listening to something, and then I started just talking, in my mind about flow and being in my own divine alignment. And then what I'll do is I will breathe in above the crown chakra. And I have a meditation on my website, soulplayground.org. If you go to the meditation page, you can download this for free. It's an ascension meditation. It gets you beyond your ego. It gets you into the vibration of the higher self and the frequency. And you can feel it. I've had people say, oh, my God, when I do that meditation, I feel like I'm above myself or I'm just hanging out there. And I go, well, that's what it's meant to do. It's called an externalization process. So it externalizes you. So anyway, a lot of times I'll do that, and that's when I put my wishes out, my intentions. I start visioning from that place or visualizing, because it's a higher vibrational frequency, definitely than the ego, and definitely beyond any wounding. But a lot of times I pump up, I extend into the subtle energy. I extend into the etheric plane, and I connect into God, the God consciousness. And I've been doing this ever since I was a little kid. If I can remember roller skating or skateboarding, and then sitting on the porch before I'd go into my family's house, the family home, and bump up, and, as I call it, and talk to God and pray and whatever and open up. So I was doing that. And I'm sending out, okay, I need help in this. Help me learn this and align, and I was really in this amazing commune with God, the all that is, God consciousness, really. And I had my headphones on, by the way, my AirPods. And I walk, and there's a row of houses. There's a bunch of houses because I'm in a residential area. But then there's like a little back kind of alley, where you put, a lot of times they put the trash cans back there for trash pickup. And this woman peeks her head out. She's got all these dogs. She's a dog walker. You know how you see in movies or videos, they have, I don't know, I think she had at least 10 dogs, big and small. And they were all listening. And she's like, I heard you talking. So I knew to stop, to wait for you, because I didn't want the dogs to startle you. And she waved at me, and I said, okay. But then, you guys, she didn't hear me talking. And then I realized, I looked at the dogs, and I go, wow, you got a lot of doggy beings. And I realized she was in such a state, because nobody was around, and it was very quiet. The area I live in is very, very quiet. There was no one around, only me. And she was looking straight at me, and she's like, I heard you talking. And then I thought, oh, my God, this ties into my connection and meditation and tutorial with the guides this morning. She heard me etherically. But why? Because she was in such a presence. And if you know anything about animal beings, and I've worked with a lot of them, and especially you guys that know Yoshi, who's, still around me, but on the other side, they're completely telepathic. You need to be in a certain vibration or vibe that they are. And people that are very aware or in tune, to some degree, empath, you can read the dog and the dog can read you. I do it all the time. I mean, all the time dogs come up to me, and people will tell me, oh my God, they never come up to people. They don't like them, because I'll see them, 50, 100 feet away, and they'll feel me in the resonant field, in the, their auric field. And I'll look at them, I'll smile or I'll wave, and then they look at me and they kind of smile, and they will wait. I've had one time I was walking, and this woman was with her dog, and I'm telling you, it was a whole block, city block, residential block. So I don't know how, was that 300 yards, something? I mean, it was far. And the dog kept turning around to me, turning around. And finally she stopped, and she's looking around like, what is the dog looking at? And then she sees me, and the dog stopped and stared at me. And then I walked quickly, and she goes, I don't understand what's going on. He's never done that. I said, I do. I connect in with animal beings. I said, I'm psychic. I go, and the dog came up to me and was petting, let me pet it, and just wanted to communicate and say hi. And this is why sometimes when I'm on my walks, I really want to talk to people and go, you know what? Your animal being, your dog being, is so conscious, awake, aware, probably from Sirius, is trying to connect with you, trying to help you understand something, to slow down, to open to love. You need to get off the phone. And I used to do it with Yo. Sometimes I'd be on the phone or whatever, but most of the time, I'd say 99.5% of the time, I was very conscious with her because I knew how sacred the connection was. And they want to talk to us. They want to hang out with us. And they will give us information telepathically, a lot of information, and have conversations. So anyway, what I realized is that for that woman, and I think, what's the guy's name? Dog Whisperer, Cesar Medlan. He talks about this. You have to be in a certain state of beingness and connection. And to some degree, it's a higher consciousness. They may not call it that. But to handle that many dogs, I'm not kidding, guys. She may have even been 20 dogs, because I tried to count them. It was at least 10 and probably more that she had, them all together, and they were all walking at the same rate and close to each other. They weren't trying to nip or bite each other or, wrestle around. And I stood there for a while and I watched her and I thought, and I could see the auric field around her and the dogs. And then, like I said, one dog looked back at me and then went forward. And I thought, wow, she doesn't realize she's in such a state of oneness with those animal beings. And she's connected, because to have that kind of control with the dog, healthy control, just like with children, is not holding them, manhandling them or being, overly restrictive with them. It's a vibe. It's a telepathic, energetic thing, right? Just like when you're walking and you feel somebody looking at you, or driving and you feel someone looking and you look over, they're looking at you, or, when you're walking, even if you're tuned in enough, even if you're listening to some, like Awakenings podcast, if you're listening in your AirPods, to stop. A car is coming. You feel the approach. And that's another thing she said. She said, oh, I heard you. And then and I thought, well, you also felt me energetically. That's what was going on. But she heard me, yes, on the telepathically, because she was in that state to be able to handle those dogs and not have them moving. She was in that state. So she was picking up, aligning to their vibrational frequency. Right? And we all do this. This is the message. We all do this. When we get with people that lift us up or inspire us, or, they're doing something, and they don't even have to do it overtly, right? Or they don't have to be aware they're doing this. They're just so in their flow, and maybe it's something we need to do, Classic one, of course, is work out, and then you're hanging out with somebody, or you start hanging out again with a friend or family member or someone that's very health conscious. You automatically start being health conscious, more health conscious, right? That's why who we hang around with, what groups we're in, where we align is very important. It needs to be supporting our inner knowing, our own inner authority and intuition, obviously being open to influences and input from other people, but needs to be reinforcing our core, our true core, not just our abs, our inner core of our inner being, our higher self. So this reminded me of the message of the timing of the soul, and being in that place of timing and synchronicity, and not so much in the linear time. By the way, this also, when I got back, just for the heck of it, I pulled one of Lon's Sacred Geometry Activation Oracle cards, which I have, and I got the Consciousness card, and I was like, wow. And that was about this expanding and being in this expanded consciousness. So I was like, wow, they're such a good example. And if you ask the universe, or if you're just open to God consciousness and you pop up and you just expand out and you just show me the signs, or you just live in that space of, let me not only show me the signs, let me experience the signs. Let me experience the signs. And that's what I do a lot. I want to experience the sign. And so I got my demonstration. I got my sign. I got my manifestation, of what I've been going through in consciousness. And it showed that to me. And she was so in her flow, because I was trying to talk to her. I was going to tell her, but she was crossing the street, and she was in that vibe to be able to handle all those dogs. So they stayed in that pack. And that's what happens with us with group energy, group dynamics. That's what happens with animal beings. The tone is set. So be very mindful of this when whatever you're doing online or in person or whatever. I mean, and it doesn't have to be exactly to a T, because trust me, I like certain things that people go, oh, that's not very conscious. Why are you watching that? One of them is like true crime, mysteries. Sometimes I like a little, I don't know, like P. Diddy's going through all this stuff. I watched something about that, and then I stopped and I thought, oh, by the way, all this stuff people go through, I saw this modeling. I'm like, guys, are you just waking up to this? You're just exposed to this? I mean, it's like all known stuff, and it's never going to go away. I don't know what the hype is about it right now, but I could tell you stories, people, stories, what I've seen and what I've experienced. And I'm just like, when I hear this stuff and people are so shocked, I'm like, this is nothing new with it. This was like, if you're in the acting, modeling, no, forget it, not just acting, modeling, or musician, anything high-powered, political, big corporation, this is all de rigueur of the day. Anyway, I watched a little, 10, 15, and then I clicked off. I was like, okay, whatever. Anywho, 347-539-5122 is the number to call in. Okay, the message from the guides right now, and this is also coming in due to those eclipses. That's another way to look at it. One of the last eclipses we're having in that Libra Aries axis. Don't wait. We are really moving out of, now it's not happening all at once, but you probably are feeling it in your life right now, not over people pleasing, not being the doormat, not the lower level, lower octave of Pisces, the martyr, having your life a mess, but you show up to, at every cause to donate and volunteer. Your life's a mess, and you're at the spiritual center, or you're at the church or synagogue or whatever, the mosque or whatever, giving till you give dry, because you get a little kudos. Those days are over, folks. They're getting over and over and over. And so we're moving into a time of understanding that our life is sacred too. It's not only about being service to other people or the world or the earth or the universe, or it's about service to ourselves, our soul life here, our soul journey, our soul path, the God consciousness expression of us through us, right? All that is. We have to be in service to that plan, that purpose, that mission. There's a sacred connection there. So the message is people need to, it's not going to be about fixing people. It's going to be very testy, touchy, especially coming up next year with relationships, where the old pattern of, well, I'm in this relationship to help them, or we're helping each other, we're learning so much. No, because the soul, it's not that we're not going to learn. I've got to keep underscoring this. But learning isn't the byproduct of life. It's the byproduct, but it's not the focal point. And you see this with children. Children don't start doing things to learn. They do things to explore, to experience, to express, to create. We've lost that connection to that part of us. And they learn as a byproduct. Children, infants don't look up one morning and go, oh, I'm going to learn how to touch that I don't know, what do you call it, the little windmill, and I'm going to learn how to reach up and grasp. And we say that, oh, they're learning how to grasp. They're at this stage. I'm going to learn how to eat. No, they're curious. They're not going, I learned it. No, they go, oh, I want that, and then they learn grasping. So try to go back to that as much as you can in your life at this time. Integrate that aspect of you and stop thinking. Learning is about exploration and should be or needs to be. Yes, we're going to learn things. We go to school, we go to workshops, we get training. Yes, okay, I want to learn. I want to be an attorney because so I need to go to school to learn how to do that, right? But there's still this exploration process of even if you're going to be attorney, like I enjoy the law. I like researching, you know. That's the level of the soul. That's where the soul plays. It really is about exploring, expression, curiosity, and then you learn as a byproduct. So the heavy emphasis on I can't do this until I'm healed, and I can't do that. That's leaving, because you're always going to be healing. That's a big part of the game here on the earth plane, and learning lessons, you know, is part of. It's baked in. It's not the focal point. So we're really being asked on a soul level, and this is as the soul gets more the alignment. So there's less and less electromagnetic charge of the ego or wounded ego self or wounded self or lower self. It opens up to this idea of wanting to explore, to create, to reach out. But it's also, for some people, it's putting them in a place where they're like in fear, or they keep wanting to repeat old patterns. They keep wanting to handle things through the egoic mind, or the ego, or the wounded aspect in themselves. So us waiting, it's not a time to wait. It's not a time to wait. I'll wait for you. It's a time to, you know, okay, this is what I'm doing, where I'm going. And you're going to see it. And people can catch up or not. People can move forward with you or not. They can get in their own flow. But we're because right now we're getting into the phase of the gathering, and we need to connect with people that are more connected to the new emerging consciousness. They are of the new frequency, and join with them. Because those people, they're on the same level. It's going to be easier. They're going to help you. You're going to help them. They're going to support you. You're going to support them. They're going to positively trigger you, or maybe bring something up. It's going to be easily resolved because they see their stuff in it. You see your stuff in it. It doesn't have to be all this trauma. It's moving out of trauma-bonded relationships. It's moving out of the us and them. But you're going to see at the same time that that's happening, you're going to see a lot of the us and them and victim and martyr consciousness, right? That's rising to the top, but that's not the main focus. That's not the thrust of where God consciousness or the universe is going. We're moving out of that victim, abuser, power over, feeling overpowered, all that dynamic. And so it is moving past that in a way, or evolving or flowing past that you might see people acting out or still in the same patterning and kind of wanting to pull you back. Well, the flow is one of the pick-a cards that is not going backward. The flow is not going backward, okay? There's a different momentum to that flow. Hada, good to connect with you. All righty, all right. All right, let's get the caller, shall we? 347-539-5122. Press 1 on the keypad if you want to get on air. And let me know. I'm glad to be back. Yes, thank you for those of you that are coming in and sharing your beautiful energy. A lot of people listen to the replays. Okay, let's get to callers. 347-539-5122. Press 1 on the keypad. Hello, hello. Hello, you're on air.
Hi, Michelle. This is Gina. How are you?
Hi, who is this?
This is Gina.
Gina. Hi, Gina. Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to say I loved everything you said today. It's kind of everything I've been thinking. And I've been watching so many of your YouTube readings, and just like you've been such an important teacher to me. So I just wanted to thank you.
Oh, thank you for being here, Gina. Wasn't that a trip with the dog that the woman thought she heard me, but because I wasn't speaking out loud, obviously I'd be looking like a nutter if walking in the streets of where I live. You know, but yeah, she heard me. That cracked me up.
It's so funny. That same thing's happened to me. And actually, as you were telling that story, my cat came down from his perch from his nap, which is funny too.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So anyways, I don't really have much of a question. I was just, I've been kind of going through all those changes you've mentioned, and like feel like I moved away from my job, and I think I'm leaving where I'm at. And I was just wondering if you
Probably
if there's anything I should know,
Yeah.
or if I just sort of keep coasting.
No, keep going, because here's what I get with you. You are so in the flow and you're listening. Even with the job, because I'm telling you the changes, and I'm going to post more of it. I'm getting more organized, and I've had more some support. But so I think I posted some stuff on Patreon about this and talked about it a little bit. I think maybe last podcast, but yeah, because we have huge shifts next year that will be, if everyone pays attention, and it sounds like, Gina, you're already vibing on this. We're getting prepared. We're getting do this, do that, get rid of this, prepare for this, look at this circumstance or relationship differently. Don't don't do that, Pat. We're really getting the heads up, because here's the deal. It's everything all at once. That's the awakening, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever, all of it. So in dismantling of things, chaos, there's a lot of creative energy. So next year brings up a lot of challenging stuff, but it brings a lot of opportunity. Big opportunity. One of the things I was getting in my work with the guides this morning was that a lot of people, we're kind of going to be moving into, I don't want to take it anymore. And so, obviously protest, this and that, and people talking to the government, this and that. But I'm also was seeing like more governmental, and this is not just the United States, this is overall, because, all countries to some degree work in sync, even if it doesn't look like it on the surface. But I feel like you're going to, just even to appease people in certain parts of the groups, I see like there's offerings of things, financially, or programs or stuff. So I would say to everyone, align to the increase aspect of your life and the world, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities. And I definitely see with you, Gina, that you're really listening. And even though you may not know exactly where you're going, you're feeling the flow. You're getting the message, and you're feeling the energetic flow of where you're going. And what I'm getting from you is you're willing to make the changes. You're shifting, and you're willing to make the changes or make the decision to keep in alignment or get into the alignment of what's coming in for you. So now, I want to say changes in work and also your schedule are coming up. So what's going on with that? There's definitely, you might feel a little restricted or overworked, but I definitely feel that that's somehow there's a payoff. I'm hearing there's a payoff to what you're doing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I appreciate that. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So just, if you don't, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, I feel like you got it down, but I definitely do feel that you're going to, I think you're going to change jobs or something. Is that what you're looking at, jobs or career?
Well, I pretty much left a career. I was teaching, and it was just
you did already?
Yeah, it's done. So the school years, I'm just sort of in between right now, and just waiting for the next thing to emerge, I guess.
Okay. No, I feel, here's the deal. You're very powerful. So I think you're going to do something with the education, but it might be creating programs or doing something in education or consulting or some type of freelance or consulting, or what do you call it, contract work? What do you call it, consultant? I feel you're going to have your own business. Is that something you're looking at?
I would be interested, sure.
Yeah. I feel don't underestimate yourself. I feel like there's something, or you're joining with others, or maybe you're working with a coalition, a co-op, or group, or an organization to help them do something. But you definitely have leadership abilities, and you're able to organize or help people or put something together. So I'm feeling like if it's not completely on your own, it's a position that you really grow into, but you're helping someone kind of either with a department or a division, organization, or something they're starting from the ground up, putting this together. So Yeah, and it does still have to do something with education, or you're taking what you learned educationally and applying it. So I don't know if that is resonating or makes any sense to you. Gina, did you disappear? Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Sorry, we just broke up for a second.
Oh, okay, okay. So does that make sense? Okay, good.
Yeah, it does. That sounds fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yeah, please keep me posted, okay? Take care.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hi, you're on air.
Hi, I'm so happy to hear your voice again. It's Jennifer from Canada.
Hey, Jennifer. Hello. What?
I just found out a good friend of mine that I've had for many, many years just passed away suddenly on Monday. Just wondering, she's got 2 kids she left behind, and I know her, and she's probably a disaster with, cleaning things up. Just wondering if there were any messages that I could help her children along with.
With the kids. Yeah, it was unexpected. I get kind of unexpected.
Unexpected, yeah. She wasn't in the best health, but I wasn't. It was a sudden heart attack.
Yeah.
Wasn't part of the.
Because unexpected. It was unexpected, or they didn't expect it. But you know what? I got to tell you, when I connected to her energy, she was so ready to go. She wasn't doing well here. She was not doing well here at all. Not at all. Wow. Okay. Part of her on the lower vibrational aspect of her, the denser frequency, her experience here, feels a little bad, but how this happened, and I feel it was unexpected to her, but she thinks she was dying slowly. She said, just be with them. Be with the kids. But right now I feel she's in a transitional period. It's interesting because it's almost like one that I think we're censored now because Apple is doing transcripts. So I'm getting, I don't know if I should say the unaliving that people sometimes do themselves. I feel like she was doing that slowly. And I get a lot of confusion, a lot of depression. So she is in this phase. Some people stay there for a long time, being where she's kind of life reviewing and rehashing a lot on the earth plane to kind of heal as much other dimensionally and assimilate her experiences. That's one aspect. I'm connecting into that aspect. Then the other aspect that she's kind of trying to connect in and be subsumed into is very much at peace. So I feel you knew some of it, but I feel you didn't know the totality of it. I also feel there was something about a relationship that really wrecked her, that really took a lot out of her. And she somehow felt she was on her own or alone in this. So
that's true.
Maybe that's why she wasn't, taking as good a health or eating well or whatever. But it was shock. It was a shock to all around her and her to some degree. But she's saying I was slowly dying anyway. Slowly dying.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh boy. Yeah. So she. What I get with her, because she could only go so far, is that she was kind of relieved. Sometimes we get relieved of our path, or it's just too much, and our will center is not there. Like I've worked with some people in a kind of a similar situation, especially if there's addiction or something, and we work what's called on the will center. So it's very interesting. We see this. I can definitely say as a shaman, working with the transition of life and also a bereavement counselor, I've worked with people that their will is so strong that And my mom, by the way, when she was crossing over, she died. I don't know how many near deaths she had, maybe at least 6, maybe more. And finally, and I was traveling around the world, and I get the email or call or whatever. Okay, this is it. You got to come back. Da, 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 da. And she'd be, oh yeah, the ambulance had to come to your house. She's in intensive care. And my mom would just rise like the Energizer bunny in her controlling fashion of, I want to get this done. I want to do that. When I get out, everybody has to get a TV. She had this obsession. Everyone had to have a TV. And at the time, I wasn't watching TV. And I was like, I don't want one, Mom. You have to have a TV. Everybody needs a TV in their house or apartment. I'm like, oh, God, okay. Finally, the doctor goes, we don't know what to tell you. Your mom is on her own timeline. That's what they told me. We don't know. She's doing things in her own way. We keep predicting, and she is dying, but then she's coming back. And then she'd come back, and she'd be around for quite a while. So she had a very strong, her will was very strong. And then some people would see the will is in the body, that the body is very strong, and a lot of times it's genetically, the ancestral energy is like sturdy, strong. And the mind, I've worked with people and they're like, I just want to cross over. I just want to die. I'm so ready. I'm so prepared. And no matter how much praying and chanting they do, the body comes on. So what I'm shown with her is that her will was, languishing. It was lessening, the will to be here, the will to get through. And by the way, sometimes our will, because sometimes I've been like, I don't want to be here, I've been depressed, I don't want to do this, but wasn't my path, to be able to check out, early. So something in her path was like, you could go so far, but if you can't do it, that's okay. Some people have that kind of, consciousness, vibration, how you want to look at it. They do have that. And you can see it. Sometimes people have died or nearly died, or they've been sick, or they keep getting sick, and they almost go out, but then they don't. It's like they rise, they have an epiphany, and, I'm really ready to be here now. They make a different decision. So I feel whatever she went through in her life, she never made a different decision of, I really want to be here. Right?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, are they boys? Are there boys? The children?
Was
one of them a boy?
Boy and a girl.
A boy and a girl.
Yeah,
okay.
There's a boy.
I'm getting something with the boy. So the boy might actually, you might have more of a conversation for some reason with him.
I feel they were very, very close. Like they were very close with their mother. So I feel like, yes, he would be the one to have a conversation with. So, yeah.
Because he's the one that's coming up that's going through something right now. That's why I'm getting like, either you see the opportune time to talk to him, or he reaches out or opens up if there's a conversation. But yeah, he's confused. He's wondering why. And and also I feel he has an awareness that she wasn't taking care of herself. So there's a bit of kind of anger, confusion, a little, I don't know if I'd say a lot of anger, but something a little, frustrated, disappointed, feels cheated. So you're probably going to be connecting with him more.
Okay.
Oh, Jennifer, keep us posted. I'm so sorry about your friend, but you're there to be, as much as you can to connect with the children,
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I really feel like you really brought her through. So, and that means a lot to me, because I don't think she would have believed in any of this. So, the fact that she's even though she's, still transitioning, I feel that the fact that she was able to communicate means I'll probably hear from her more. So.
Oh, definitely you will. Because on the other side, she's very aware or cognizant of this world and this realm, I feel. I feel she's definitely going to be connecting with you more. Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Good to connect with you. Bye. All right. I just saw Lon, but it just dropped. Oh, my gosh. Lon, come back. Where art thou? I'm just about ready to pick up with her. And let me see if I could. Lon dropped off. Let me just see. Okay, the email. Oh, God. The blowers, they changed their schedule. You can hear them. They were not doing on Wednesdays for years, and now they've changed their, well, maybe it's my gardeners. I have to tell them, do not come on Wednesday, please. Let's shut that door. Okay. I think it is my gardener. All right, let's see. Lon, where art thou? Saw her number. Gone. Okay, let's see if she comes back on. Yes, I see her. Okay, cool. Okay, so, we have now coming on air Lon of Lon Art, who is the author and creator of Sacred Geometry Activation Oracle Cards, Modern Merlin Oracle Cards, and Sacred Geometry Relationship Oracle Cards. She is a sacred geometry artist and quite an amazing intuitive. So, all righty, let's connect in. Hello, Lon.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Good to connect with you.
I know, it's been a while, right?
Yeah. I took a break because they were having all these issues, and then we couldn't find the right platform. We're still expanding out onto YouTube, which I want you to come on to because I want you to be able to show your cards.
Yes.
I've been thinking about you. Yeah, I've been thinking about you a lot because so much is happening energetically, and a lot is being. I'm seeing things in like sacred geometric forms, and the message I was getting with the guides is how so important sacred geometry it already is, but it's going to become even more and become more mainstream or used more. The vision I was shown is kind of like Islamic art. You know how they don't have pictures of people for some reason in their belief system, but they have all these like shapes and stuff. And I thought, oh my God, Lon must be tapping into this so much that somehow we're going to be using this sacred geometry more and more, understand it more, use it more, understand its uses more, which I know very little about. I mean, I know a little bit of the Tree of Life, the Merkaba, how that intersects with light. That's about it. That's what I use a lot, the as above, so below. But there's so much. So I really was curious with you, like, what are you picking up? And it also want to know what's been going on with you, what you've been focused on as well.
Right. First of all, my connection, is it clear? Can you hear me?
I can. Can you not hear me?
No, I can. I was just wondering. Okay, fantastic. Yes.
Okay, but you can't hear. You
yes.
can't because I'm on a head, which worked wonderfully. The headset the other day or the last week. But if it's not as clear, if I keep going out or not as clear, I'll change to another one. So just let me know.
No, it sounds good. It sounds clear. I'm on a headset as well, so I just wanted to know that everybody can hear me and that we're all good. I can hear you perfectly.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Fantastic. Yes. I so agree with you. It's it's so interesting because when I started first seeing this in like visions, in dreams, and I started thinking about this was back in like the early, probably like 2010, 2011. And I remember that I was saying to some really, to some inside circles, like dear friends of mine, I said like, it's coming. I can see these waves of sacred geometry coming, and it's going to be really important. I could feel that this was a layer of reality, if you want to call it that way, that we were going to have access to, that was going to help us understand how our world is structured. And so I had no idea. So my first deck came out in, oh my gosh, I think it was in 2016. So that's 8 years ago, right? And to this day, it's still a best-selling deck. And not only that, it's still accelerating. It's accelerating. And I just actually heard 2 weeks ago from my publisher that they sold the rights to, it's going to be published in Russian as well now.
Love that.
So on top of that, it's in different languages already. It's now going to be in Russian. And that tells me that this awakening, people understanding how important it is and the way we resonate with it, it's still moving, right? So that's incredibly exciting to me. Like what you're saying, like more and more people are it's now a term that a lot of people have heard of, right?
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of what I do is I look online or articles or whatever, and especially online and podcasts and things. And it doesn't matter what kind. It could be finance, it could be spiritual, it could be environmental, it could be political. The times that people are saying awakenings, and I'll do little screen grabs of it. I'll do a little clip.
Right.
And I remember years ago, because I talked about it on the podcast, I think it was during COVID, but a news anchor on a regular legacy media, I think we're in Southern California, so it was one of those, or MSNBC, or it was something local. And the guy, it was like spirit took over. You know, sometimes people say things and they don't realize it's like their higher self finally sneaking through, or God consciousness, whatever, the soul. And this guy started talking about awakening. He's like, it's looking like we're an awakening, you know, of what's real in life or what's important or the simple thing. And I swear to you, then he stopped and goes, he looked at his co-anchor and he said, I can't believe I said that. He goes, but I guess you could call it awakening. I don't know why I described it that way. And I thought, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Wow. So that you tell me Russia. Wow. Go ahead.
I know. Isn't that great? That is so wonderful to me, because that despite of all the chaos and the pain and the confusion that's going on right now in the world, and where we are mostly being told how divided we are, and sometimes we feel that way, I also feel on an individual level we are actually way more the same and looking for the same things and experiencing the same kind of expansion of our consciousness and awakening, right? And that to me gives me so much hope for this world, right? There's a lot of really beautiful things going on as well, and they will have a ripple effect on our everyday reality.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of my wonderful, wonderful client students, I work with their parents. So I work with a few kids, I think age 11 to like 14, no, 11 to 16. I have different clients, and I always learn so much from them. I love working with children. Yesterday I had a session with one of them, the 12-year-old, and in her wise words, because she was bringing up how she's homeschooled, but they have these, I guess, group meetings with the children, and the teacher comes in and it kind of gives a tutorial or whatever, and they only can respond in chat. And she was saying how they're very like they were talking like with kids that age, politics, and of course parroting what their parents are saying about religion. And this one little boy was saying something about like Jesus is the only way. If you don't believe, you're going to get in trouble. You're not going to be, and went off on a tangent. And so I was talking about maybe she bring it up to the teacher, safe space. You know, I'm coming from that model, you know, teaching and counseling. And then we talked, she just says, maybe. And then we talked more, and she said, but there's so many different opinions. I said, oh, it's not just one of two opinions opposing. And she said, no, everybody has their own opinion. And it's in the group, it's, you know, two people say this and three people say, she goes, it's very different. And I said, oh, okay, well, that's different. And I go, what do you think? She goes, well, usually works itself out. She goes, I don't think I'm going to say anything. She goes, and I don't say anything except that everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And I'd leave it. And I thought, Lon, but that's so what we're talking about. She says, it's just,
right.
She goes, eventually, she goes, you know what she told me? But this is human nature. But she said, kids. She goes, you know how kids are. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, well, after a while, they'll get bored of it. And they don't argue anymore or talk about it. We go on to something else. And she said, so I think it's just going to work itself out. And I thought, my God, that's what, if we don't keep putting attention on this idea of us and them and separation, it's going to work itself out. If we put our attention more on coming together and connecting and sharing and collaborating and building and all of that, the other is just going to be getting more and more bored, and fall by the wayside.
Right. And the beautiful thing is that sacred geometry, I see it as a language, right? And it's a universal language, meaning that no matter who you show, like a sacred geometry picture, like the ones that I make, those activations, no matter who you show that to, no matter what their background or their religion or their language or their gender or anything, how they identify, people are going to have some sort of a response to it, right? It's not bound to anything, and I think that's part of the reason why it works. It's almost like the same language as like that certain colors activate certain things in us as human beings, and it's just connected to vibration. It's connected to resonance, and that is universal, no matter how you want to see it. And I think people are starting to realize that, right? That's why people are so drawn to sacred geometry, because it works on a soul level. That's why I've always called it's the language of the soul. Like we unconsciously resonate with it without even really understanding it, and that makes it so beautiful.
Yeah. Wow. I love what you're saying about language, because that's something I've really been tapping in, and especially whether personally or in the workshop or, I don't know, whatever, Patreon, podcast, all avenues. When people are asking me about, like, intuition or tarot or runes or whatever, astrology, I'm like, it's just a language. That's the bit, and I love that you're saying this, and I feel like that's where we're being guided, that all this is just to interpret. It's just all a language to talk, to share, to interpret what's going on. And there's many languages. And so we get out of this thing like, oh, well, I get my information from only this card or this tarot or the astrology only. And it's like, no, you're just interpreting what's happening. Somebody could just do it by opening their eyes or seeing it in a tree or a bush.
Right.
So,
and a lot of sorry, go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, like, a lot of the concepts that I address in my work are also very universal concepts, right? I try to help people to tap in and activate, expand upon things like healing and love and empathy and intimacy and connection and consciousness. And those are all concepts that apply to anybody, regardless of where you are. And I feel like that's why people are also so, because that is something as human beings, like why we come here, right? We want to grow, we want to expand, we want to connect, we want to express ourselves, we want to, and I think that's why we still see this hunger for understanding also of who we are on a soul level and what it all means.
Lon, as you were sharing, and I could feel your crown chakra so open upward, and you're really connecting to those upper chakras. I'm wondering, I just saw that since we're getting less and less into the only ego, human, what we can see part of us, which is like with pictures and images, of what like Christ looks like, or the ascended master, because nobody really knows, even the ascended masters or whatever.
Right.
Right, or guides. It's like it always floors me that, okay, this is what an angel looks like, or the angelic realm, and it's like, what's really coming out of like the Greco-Roman, being, which is fine, but that's only one lens. I'm wondering with the sacred geometry, as you were talking, I'm kind of seeing a time where maybe people are connecting into the sacred geometry image and the energy that holds, instead of the picture of the guru or the teacher.
Right.
Is that
possible? The way I've always I think so, because the way I've always seen it is that energy exists like in free form when it's not manifested in any form, right? It just floats around in a space waiting for something to happen either somebody to put attention somewhere, or a thought or a dream, and then it can reflect that and it becomes a form. So for energy to go from not being formed and just free flowing to actually manifest in something tangible, it has to go through almost like a layer or a design where it goes from free flowing to a form. So that layer I see is sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is the layer that we push the energy through, and then it comes out in structured building blocks for us to understand. And even Plato said this, right? We have the Platonic solids, like there is 5 basic forms that are actually at the core of every form that we know in 3D. And those are like the circle and the triangle and the square.
Right.
So that's why, because it's so at the basis, at our foundation, that's why we also resonate with it on a soul level, because it's part of it's part of life, right? All life is built on those principles. So you're right. I think we're starting to see that more and more, because it doesn't speak to our mind, it doesn't speak to our intellect. It actually resonates on a level that is beyond what we really, right, beyond our human form. It's and that makes us all the same, right? That's a language where we can talk to anybody, because it's the same for all of us.
Yeah. Well, also, like what you're saying, it is the language of the soul, because the soul is a geometrical shape. It's a configuration. It's a energetic configuration. The design is, it's geometrical. Right. It's mathematical. And I think we have to get beyond. I love the human form. I think it's beautiful, but I think that being able to extend or expand beyond the human form into the geometrical or the etheric aspect of us, we begin to, that's why I feel we connect into our interconnectedness through these mosaics or matrix of energy, of interconnection of the all that is energetically. And to me, what I'm hearing you say is that is the sacred geometry. So if we can go into the design, because we are this mathematical configuration. We're not people floating around somewhere and then say, oh, I decide to incarnate now, But we see these as people, which unfortunately kind of limits our interconnectedness and our understanding, because it brings it back to this, like, only this aspect, only this dimension, only what's been done previously, or only what you know. Now, let me ask you on that, and I do see callers. We'll get to callers. I don't know if you want to play around with some readings of the cards, or just let me answer questions. But hang on, gang.
I've got questions. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so hang on, gang. Hang on. Those of you that are in the queue calling.
I had one more reaction to what you were saying also, because that was so interesting, because you were talking about our human form, right? That we are not just our human form. And it's so interesting because we get so lost in that, right? We identify with the human form, but if you look throughout life, our human form changes, right? We grow and we change shape and we get older, and things on a physical level change all the time, but on a soul level, we stay the same. Right. So if we can tap into that.
Yeah, I'm wondering, you're just bringing some up. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm wondering, it's reminding me of that Da Vinci, the man out, and then the drawing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm wondering what is the, because I feel like this, I don't know, I feel, and this is why when we were coming back, I'm like, Sadie, you got to get Lon on. I got to, what's going on? I can feel it. Something's happening with her. I can feel this you and all this downloads. But with the sacred geometry coming more and more. So I'm wondering, what is the benefit, or what do we do, or what portal does it open when we start seeing the truth ourselves, the geometrical, like reading the aura, that when we're able to see, feel, or tap into the geometrical aspect of us, does that change something?
I think
is that.
Oh yeah, I think that's what probably the masters that walk this earth were tapping into, because it brings you to a oneness, because it brings you above exactly what you were saying. It brings you above the idea that we are all different forms and just our physical body in whatever that physical body is doing, and it brings us to a layer of understanding that we're all souls and that we are here on a journey to learn, right? So it taps in also, and then we're all the same, and with that sameness, we can have compassion. The Dalai Lama said that once. I thought that was so profound. He said you can only have compassion for somebody that is in a group that you identify with. So the more we separate and the more we polarize and the more we feel about it's us and them, the less compassion we can feel, because you're not part of my group anymore. So if we can get above these layers and we can all see that we are sacred geometry shapes, that we are all souls, and the rest is just expression and choices and us going through this life path. But if we stay in that upper layer, we're all the same, and now we're all in the same box, and now we can have compassion. So that's the layer where we actually find, when you talk about peace on earth, that's where you would find peace on earth. And it's not because we're all the same in the sense like we believe the same things or we want the same things, but we recognize that at the core we are the same, and everybody wants the same for themselves and their family. Everybody just wants health and prosperity and harmony and peace and safety and love, right? That makes us the same.
Yeah. Okay, I love what you're saying. I could see it now, because when you were sharing, the kind of the visual I was getting was because we're the ego part of us is losing. It's the electromagnetic charge is lessening, so the soul can come in more. So what I'm hearing and seeing you say is, in a way, it's getting out of the lower vibration tribal aspect. You know, there's obviously a higher vibration of tribe, but what I'm hearing you say, of the ego feeling threatened by you're different or you look different than me, and you know, so I have to fear you. So if we can see beyond that, see and feel the geometrical shape and identify or connect in, better than identify, connect in more to that, then there's going to be less fear. So then there is going to be more compassion, because you're seeing, hey, they're just the same shape. It's like if everybody had blood on the outside of them instead of the skin, we would look and go, oh, well, everybody has red blood. What do I have to fear? That person's a red blood person. There's a red blood animal. You know, everybody's a red blood. But because we've been trained to see these differences out of fear. So you're saying like the language of sacred geometry is bringing in that sameness or oneness, if I'm hearing you right.
Because it's because it taps into a universal level. And from that level, we can also recognize that diversity, because there will always be diversity, right? It's not that we're all...
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't believe that world peace is going to come out of one day we wake up and we think all the same about the same things, right? We don't. That's not what it is. But we can be tolerant to other people's opinions. We can be compassionate for other people's suffering or whatever that is. And we can be just wise and keep on tapping into that soul level and understanding the bigger picture of that often the circumstances that we draw to us have something to do with our own vibration, right? And there's always things to learn from and expand from and grow from.
Yeah. Well, if it's
just a bigger picture view, right?
Yeah. Because you're saying, one time it was explained to me by the guides of moving from just respecting something, tolerating, to honoring. And so seeing that sacredness, like I may not like you or understand you or agree with what you're saying, but I honor you. I see the sacredness. I may not like what you're doing or what you're saying.
I like that.
Right? But but I see the sacredness in your path, in your configuration, really. In the, like you said it earlier, so perfectly, like a configuration that has a certain expression and experience. I think it makes it very clear, like, it's not personal. It's not about me. My configuration sees it this way. I love butterflies, you know, and you love whatever, wolves. It's okay. I honor that.
Right. It doesn't make you wrong or me wrong, right? It's just different.
Right. Yeah. But I agree. We have to get out of the identification of only what we see or been encoded or conditioned in that human body form, which is beautiful and amazing as it is as an expression and experience. Over-focus on that does over-focus on the separating out and not in the unity consciousness and the intricate, because it's right in the geometry. And I'm sure, now what do you see with the sacred is there, do you see all the interconnectedness when you are connecting into the sacred geometry, like when you're meditating or contemplating the universe or other people? Is that the place you go?
Yeah, you know, that's hard to explain. I'm not really, I just, I don't see it in the sense of with my eyes, but I see it inside of me, if that makes sense. And I oftentimes see the connections. Like if I look at a situation and I look at people in it, I can see the connections. I can see how they got there. I can see where it's going. I can see the potential. I can see, right? And if I would translate that in shapes and form, there would be I don't know, there could be like triangles or squares, or for me it automatically translates into shape. I guess that's how I think that quantum stuff is so hard to put into words, right? It's very hard to express something into words without it falling flat. And for me, if I do it in shapes and colors and forms, it feels like maybe it's a softer or more translucent or more expanded way. Right?
And that's what I see with you as well as you're talking. You're really projecting, because I can see the shapes and the form kind of etherically, you know, like a little hazy. So that's interesting. Juan, I'm telling you, I think with your activation cards and the inner work and outer work that you're doing, I think you're really going to help people. To me, it's like it's the next level of reading aura, because you're connecting in with the design, the person's soul design. I think that there's something that you're going to do, and maybe you're already doing it, but I think you're going to help people really tap into that, because you definitely even can transmit. I can see it and feel it through. You can transmit that, because you're doing it now, that ability. Anybody else doing it in the chat or listening by phone, you're probably, because you really transmit that frequency and that vision, you know, through the sacred geometry.
And there's a clarity, I feel like. I often feel like I get a clarity from the information that I'm getting, and then I'm learning how to translate that either in pictures and colors, and then put words to it so people can get it and understand it, right? So for me, it's just, I always feel like I'm just a big translator of energies, and one of my tools is colors and shapes. And I find those often resonate better. And because they're universal, they will resonate with anybody in the language, because I don't speak all the languages. I don't speak Russian, right? I don't speak Spanish. But my work is now translated in those languages, and people are getting it. And they're getting it because the pictures resonate beyond, right? Beyond our mind. It resonates somewhere. So it's really wondrous, and I feel like that's where the focus, our next step in evolution, where we see the big shift on Earth right now going on, and so many people awakening, is that our focus is shifting from just focused on the physical layer. We are instead going to put our center and our main focus into the more subtle layers of energy.
The subtle body. Right. Yeah, the subtle energies. Yeah, I agree. I so agree. Okay, we got a caller. Anybody else want to call, say hi, or ask a question? 347-539-5122. let's get to this caller here. Hi, you're on air.
I absolutely
Hello?
love the show. And yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes,
yes,
we
you can. Hi, welcome. What's your first name?
My name is Alan.
Hi, Alan. Welcome.
Hey, Alan.
You're on. What's on?
First of all, I'm in the entertainment business, and I can't thank you enough for the wisdom that you are both providing today. I'm a big believer in sacred geometry and the patterns and the shapes that resonate with natural forms. And what a lot of people are starting to realize, especially in the entertainment industry, is that engaging with these designs, they can stimulate creativity, and they help artists so much, and designers.
That's
and
interesting.
And also engaging with these designs as well helps unlock new ideas for thinkers, new perspectives as well. So I want to encourage the people who are listening to you today, and everything you're saying is brilliant and refreshing and so inspiring, that utilize these patterns to help stimulate creativity. And I want to tell you, there's a big celebrity that I am friends with that is a follower of sacred geometry. I'll give you a hint. She's very, very famous, and she happens to be a spokesperson as well for Weight Watchers. Do you know who it is?
Oh, wait. Is it the singer? What's her name? I can't think of her name. The country singer? She's a spokesperson.
African-American talk show host. For many...
Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, Oprah then. Okay. Yes.
Yes, Oprah is a...
Alan,
did you know that?
There?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Doesn't
she is a big...
kind of...
I did.
Yes.
Kind of... did know that. Interesting. Now, Alan, I want to ask you, I want to go back and maybe we have questions for you, Alan. How are they using, how has this started? Because in one form is the yantra, but yantra to me is also kind of can be a little bit limited just because of the context of the yantra, where the yantra, comes from. And it's very static image. It's the same types of images for the same story, or getting on the mortal coil, the incarnation. Lawn's art, if you've ever seen hers, it deals with a lot of different life situations and experiences. So there's different shapes and forms. Anyway, getting back. So how are people using this? Is it through meditation, contemplation? Are they using it as an amulet?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It's actually a hybrid. It's a hybrid of utilizing the patterns with what we have found to be very beneficial, breathing exercises. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah. Teach it myself, pranayama, breath work. So you're saying that you're doing the breath work with the geometrical, with the particular shape. And are they able to isolate which geometrical shape is best for them to utilize for a specific purpose?
Yes. So it's a combination of utilizing the geometric shapes and breathing. The breathing with the shape combined, those two forces, those two energies combined, create a powerhouse of creativity for people within the industry, artists, musicians, thinkers, creators. And that's one thing that Oprah is working on as well. She's combining sacred geometry and combining it with her breathing exercises. Are you familiar? Have you seen she's now doing breathing exercises?
No, but it's so weird.
I have not, I wanted to.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I wanted to mention that I've always called my art, my sacred geometry art, I've always called them activations. So that kind of talks into what you were talking about, Ellen, as well, that I've always realized that the art that I create, that it activates people. It activates them to be more creative, to step more into their potential, to expand their consciousness, to all of that. So everything that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll give you like a quick.
It's weird. I just got to say, there's a weird thing I have with Oprah, because I had a talk show in Chicago, and we were in her old studio before she went to Harpo. After she went to Harpo, then she had a guy that came on every Tuesday, her Tuesday time, where she highlighted people. He ended up coming on my talk show and then becoming a regular. I don't know. And then we had the same hairdresser at one point, Andre, until he went off with her. Yeah, he was like, "I'm sorry, Michelle, that, I work with you and I love working with you, but Oprah's paying me and I won't say how much." And I'm like, "Okay, go ahead." But now this guy's calling. And so anyway, it's just very interesting, the resonant fields of connection, right?
Right. And the synchronicity.
Right, Lon?
Well, I will tell you that, I am good friends with Oprah, and I listen to the show and I play the show back. So if there's something you want to directly say to Oprah, by all means say it, and she will hear it. I will get it to her.
No. I already know. It's just funny because even people I read for psychically that worked with her, I had clients that worked with her. I know quite a bit about her because I was even her husband or partner, whatever. But it's just interesting how when you're in certain soul groups, we overlap or interconnect. And maybe, Lon, obviously our sacred geometrical shapes are intertwined, and Alan, you're
right.
I would love bit of a thread on this.
Right.
Hmm?
I would love to create Oprah's soul portrait. I think that would be fascinating and incredible for the world to activate that and bring that through and have that activate in the world. So you can extend that invitation to her.
There you go.
You could say, tell yourself. I'm going to play this back. Go ahead, tell yourself. Open up say it to Oprah. Go ahead.
Well, I just said that. Oprah, if you would be open to that, I would be honored and very excited to create your personal soul portrait for you based on sacred geometry, to let your soul speak and to allow that frequency and that resonance to really, really land on this planet and activate.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I will relay that message.
Connect with us, Oprah. I knew her at Christophe Salon, Beverly Hills, met her once. So, yeah, whatever the interconnectedness is, let's connect. Let's all connect and see what it is. Let's tune in,
right?
Vibrationally, meditate. Let's have a little chat, call online, offline, and see what this resonance is for this portal that's coming in next year, this May, June. So something's cooking where we're all gathering and we're coming together. We're all coming together in synergy, in symbiotic relationships to share our gifts. And I feel, and that's why I wanted to have Lon on when we relaunched the podcast. I was on hiatus because I could tell we need to gather for this next leg or the awakening and the soul alignment. But we have to join together. We all have gifts. We all have pieces that need to be brought together into these new forms that hold the new emerging consciousness of the new paradigm. So, yeah, and Alan, you're helping to kick it off by sharing, we're all in this phase of gathering and coming together to build and create these new forms and new businesses and ways of creating for the creative economy. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what we do with these parents is the breathing exercises as well, and we have a morning breathing exercise, and we incorporate the geometry and the patterns into it as well. And I can just give you a small one. If you can, with me, this is really wonderful, and it's so liberating spiritually and mentally. If you could just breathe in for like 6 seconds, take a deep breath, do it with me. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Mm-hmm.
Hold it. Now exhale it, but when you exhale it, let it out into 3 loud puffs. Try that. Okay, now tell me Now, what geometric pattern comes to your mind immediately? Tell me.
Well, I've been seeing the Merkaba, but that's because I've been connecting with Lon, so she's a projector of these geometrical shapes. I connect into them and read them as well. So, yeah,
okay.
as above
now, when you
below.
Okay, now did you both exhale and did you both have an immediate image?
Well, I already have images, so it's
right.
a second channel. I'm already So I didn't have. We're kind of already in that that space, Alan.
Right.
So, yeah.
Now this,
I
have to tell you, this helps. This helps in the morning with your first cup of coffee before breakfast, and believe it or not, it's done best over the toilet, on the toilet bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Have you ever?
Good ideas. Yeah.
Wonderful tip.
Alan,
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Because
Anyway, did you have
when
a
you
question
inhale,
for Lon? Because Alan, did you have
yes.
a question for Lon? Because and
yes,
then we're going
Lon,
to scoot on because we're winding.
Have you ever? Yes, I do. Before I go, and I really appreciate everything. And again, Lon, I have to tell you that the mindfulness and the well-being, the way they contribute to your overall emotional well-being is so important, and you are creating a great connection to nature and to the universe. And you're helping individuals feel more grounded and more aligned, and that's what this world needs. And I wanted to ask you, Lon, have you ever meditated over the toilet?
I have meditated almost anywhere and everywhere. I feel like I kind of live my life in meditative state. So
yeah, me as
right.
well.
Have you ever imagined like a?
Okay, sweetie, we're gonna go. Okay, sorry to cut you off, but I want to make sure we can wind down. Alan, thank you so much for calling in. What a delight. How fun. Out of the blue.
It's great. But it actually brings up something interesting. I actually feel that I don't necessarily always have to sit down and close my eyes to meditate. I can do it walking. I can do it like I'm tuning in all the time. I can do it instantly. It's a constant way of being.
Yes. Well, that's what,
right.
Plug my book, Meditation for Everyday Living. And when I taught at Agape Spiritual Center, that was one of the things I taught. Meditation is a practice. It's a system. Pranayama,
right.
dhyana, and you get into that oneness, right? But living in a meditative state, because that is our true state. So I'm totally with you, Lon. That's what I talked about at the beginning of the podcast, just kind of bump up into that frequency, and it's with you wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're in that frequency.
Right, right. And I feel like we're going there more and more.
Living more in that. Yeah, and to your point, I think that also goes back into the idea of the activation or alignment or tuning, that it's really a shift in frequency, and that's what gets us into these interdimensional, multidimensional states or higher consciousness or expanding consciousness, is it's not so much the meditation or the breath, because we are that state. We're just aligning or tuning back into it, right?
Right. Yes.
Lon,
I agree with that.
It's just going off with you. I love connecting with you.
Nice. Well, that's what I mean. I pretty much live in that state most of the time, and I fall out of it as well. There's things that bring me down, which is an interesting expression. When you say like something brings you down, it actually literally refers to that brings your energy level, your frequency down. And when your frequency is down, you can't really tap into the higher levels, and with that you lose part of your consciousness as well. So, but I get that, like everybody else, and then I have to make more effort and maybe sit down and do a breathing exercise like Alan was suggesting, and to get me back there, right?
Yeah, well, I think we all have to do that. I love the Buddhist saying where they say balance is like standing on the head of a pin. You go a little to the left, a little to the right, you back and forth.
Right.
And I think a lot of this is just knowing it's states of consciousness. Once you have the tools, how do I activate? What activates me?
Right.
What's the negative trigger? What's the positive? What aligns me? What attunes me? And I think as we go more vibrationally, as you were talking earlier, into the more the raw energetics, all of that's going to be just so much more quick. Happen so much more quickly. Right? We're just going to have it. It's within us to just shift the awareness, and then that shifts the consciousness.
Right. I mean, people often talk about the veils, right? The veils between this reality and the higher the higher realms and that the veils are getting thinner. I don't know if the veils are getting thinner. I think our awareness and our consciousness is expanding, and it just kind of dissolves that fog that was there before, right? So we're dissolving the fog and we're seeing something more so. That was always there, by the way. It's not new. It was always there. We just couldn't see it because we were earthbound much more, and we are less and less earthbound, and we're getting more like ethereal bound, subtle bound, energy bound.
Yeah, energy bound. Yeah, we're getting it. I remember we had, and I tried to find his book the other day, Dr. Maynard, who's a physicist, some other thing too, I don't remember, but he's a physicist, PhD physicist, and his books, when you read them. And I had to comment on this because I had been talking, like you, since 2011 about the energetics, the subtle energy, and all my courses, classes, we dive into the subtle energy, expanding through that. We're not just these denser physical bodies. And, of course, as you know, that's just advanced metaphysics and esotericism. In his book, he had a small chapter. He didn't have a lot on the subtle energy, so I brought it up to him. And things like, that's why I studied hypnotherapy. Things like, again, it's all working with those states of consciousness. Right. Yeah, I'm a hypnotherapist. And anyway, he said, we had a chat, and I'll have to get him back on. And I was telling him, what I'm doing in my experimentation with subtle energy and my training and da-da-da-da. And he was saying, he said, I don't know a lot about it. He goes, but I can tell you, in the new, he calls it new world, people are going to have to understand the subtle energy, the subtle energetic fields. Right. And how to access them and use them. And what does that bring in, Lon? Energetic healing, sacred geometry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's our little connection, right? That's a tool. It's a tool, like sitting with, and that's why I've called mine always activations. If you just look at my art for a little bit, it's going to do something. It's like meditating with your eyes open, right? It's an open meditation tool. So instead of closing your eyes, for those people that have maybe more of a challenge of going inward with their eyes closed, you could just take like one of my pieces, which is basically a modern form of a mandala. And mandalas have been used for centuries, right? Yeah. Forever. Like people understood that mandalas actually help the brain. It's like a visual mantra. It helps the brain to just go beyond itself, because there is a calmness, there's a harmony there that just makes everything else fall away. Mm-hmm.
And the thing, to your point, mandalas, yantras, but they all, unless you do your own mandala, you create your own mandala. But the thing is, with they're transcending any kind of belief system. The person can really, with your cards and your art, connect in, and right away you're in your own model. I love mandalas, as study meditation and yantra. I love all that, and because I have an affinity with that, I can connect in and get my own meaning. But what I love with your cards and your artwork is that someone can bring what they need to into it to access. There's not like, oh, that's this religion, that's that. Oh, because that does stop quite a few people. And also, just before we wind down here, something you said, didn't you say something, the interface? Because like when I was saying getting into the subtle energy, it feels like and seems like the sacred geometry, at least on the denser physical level, like the 3D or 2D if you're looking at the cards, that starts getting into the etheric sacred geometry. But it seems like it's the intermediary, or it's the access point. Would you say that that's what's happening with the sacred geometry for us, that we're now, that can be an access point or act as an opening or intermediary? or language,
right.
I guess
think it's
you would say also.
right, because it's a tool. Like, I mean, why do people love the flower of life? And for those that are listening that are not familiar with the term, the flower of life is that symbol that consists of all the circles that intersect in the middle of the circle, and together they form this beautiful mandala with cross intersecting circles, right? So, and why are we so attracted to it? Because we intrinsically recognize the harmonious meaning of that, right? Because it's a building block of life. So yes, it's an entry point for us to get beyond our thinking mind. If you look at a piece like that, it will automatically kick in that part of you that is soulful, that is already connected to the larger universe, and it goes beyond the human mind, the thinking mind. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Lon, tell people anything you have going on or where to connect with you. We will definitely do this again. I have so enjoyed this, and I've learned bunches. Listen.
It's always so great to talk to you, and it's so wonderful because we've done this over the years several times, and it's beautiful because everything evolves, right? The collective consciousness evolves. You and I evolve personally, so the conversations are always like an extension of where we were last time, and next time we even have discovered more, and we have a more expanded view on everything. So people can find me. My website is lawnart.com. That is lawn- or -art.com. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram. My cards are for sale on Amazon. My book is for sale on Amazon as well. And if you're interested in like a personal soul portrait, because I create like these activations that I make, I create them personally derived on your personal energy. We actually should do one for you. I don't know why we haven't done that over the years, but
that would be cool. Yeah,
right? Yeah. Because it's an activation of your soul and an expression of who you are and your superpowers, your magical superpower that you came with to this earth, and what you're here to expand upon and share with the world. And when you hang that on your wall, it is a constant activation to become that, to step in your highest potential and your highest power. So if anybody is interested in that, you can connect with me. You can just book like a free Zoom call with me so we can connect and talk, and we can talk about that more.
That's great. I love that. That's great. Yeah. Okay. Well, I look forward to more unfolding in this awakening conversation with you. I feel so good. I feel so energized, and it just tied in everything that's already going on through the day, or early morning, the mid morning that I've been going through, and I just love what you're doing, and I can't wait to see where you're going with all this, or how source energy, God consciousness is coming through you as you. Yeah, because I kept going in my meditation. Lon's going to be doing something. Lon's got something going on with that sacred geometry. Get her back on the podcast. Let's talk about it.
Oh, well, I am so honored and grateful that you did reach out, and it was so fun as always. We could talk for hours. There's so much to explore and discuss and share, but thank you so much for having me.
All right, well, until next time, big hug. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye. All right, everyone, big hug. Take care to you. You might have to listen to this episode again, do the replay. Lots of diamonds and jewels in here. Anyway, lots of love and light to all of you. Keep connected. Ways to connect with me. Also, description box, Patreon, Instagram, YouTube, all those places and beyond. But I'll see you in the astral plane. I'll connect with you there. Let's do a connection there. All right, through the subtle energy. So we all interconnect.
Awakenings broadcasts every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific Time. Archive shows available on iTunes. For continued awakened conversations and insights, join the Awakenings group on Facebook. And check out Michelle's blog at soulplayground.com. And keep awake.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Discover great brands like Samsung at your local Ferguson showroom.